Hannah, welcome to episode 19.
Woo!
Almost to 20.
Almost to 20.
Almost. But we're not at 20. We are at 19.
Nope, we are at 19, but...
So what has happened, Hannah? Do you have anything to share with the class today?
We do have an announcement. We have decided, in the interest of quality content, as well as just kind of our mental health, that we are going to go to being a bi-weekly podcast. Mm-hmm. Just to give us some more time to really research our topics as in-depth as we want to, and not feel so crunched for time, because we want this to stay fun, and it's not fun when we feel stressed. So we're gonna just step back a little bit. We're gonna come back every other week, and maybe in the future, if we have more time to dedicate to it, or we get some sort of revenue coming from this, we will be able to dedicate more time and be a weekly podcast again. Yeah,
to bounce off Hannah there. A lot of it is, like she said, we want to take a step back, and we don't want to burn ourselves out.
Yeah, that's the big thing. I really don't want to burn myself out on this.
And if you've ever experienced burnout, you know it's not fun. And so that's where we're at. We're still very new, but at the same time, like Hannah said, we want to give quality content, and we feel this is going to be the best way for the time being. So we do appreciate the patience, and we appreciate the understanding during this time as well. And eventually we'll be able to get back to on a weekly basis, or maybe we'll come up with something else. I mean,
we're hoping this can also provide some more time for us to make some more Patreon content, mm-hmm. and maybe get some subscription stuff going on Spotify or something as well.
Yeah.
But for now, we're just going to take it to catch up and really just do our best to bring you the best possible content that we can.
I couldn't have said it better myself. That was beautifully put, Hannah.
Thank you.
And again, I hope you guys understand, and we appreciate the understanding too. And we just, like we said, we just want to give good content. We're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for you guys, and we're doing it because we love it. And you can't love something if you're just burned out by it.
Yeah. So that being said, this episode will be coming out on July 24th, which means that the next episode will then be coming out on August 7th.
There we go. So look for those dates, look for posts. But yeah.
Do you have anything fun or interesting for us?
I have an article.
You have an article?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I have an article that I found that I thought I'd share with you because... You'll find out why.
Okay.
So, do you know what an oarfish is?
Vaguely.
So, you've caught one in Animal Crossing. I know that.
All right, go ahead.
Now I have your attention.
Yes.
So, an oarfish. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. O-A-R fish.
I would say
oarfish. Yeah. An oarfish was seen by scuba divers off the coast of Taiwan, which is very rare for these fish to be seen so close to the surface.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Yep.
I think I saw a picture of, maybe not. I don't know. That sounds familiar. I saw a picture of some sort of giant fish, but I also don't know if it was a real picture or not, so.
Okay, yeah. So we'll get into, you might have seen it, but we'll get into why this has made headlines.
Where's this article from?
This article is from a BBC article that was from a post from Taiwan.
Oh, okay.
So it's made multiple different news outlets.
Yeah, but the article itself is just from BBC.
But the article itself is from BBC that I found.
That was my question.
Okay. Sorry. Sometimes I just give too much information. So, a little quick recap. Oarfish was found off the coast of Taiwan. It's really rare for these fish to be seen so close to the surface because they're usually at a depth between 650 feet to 3,200 feet deep.
Oh.
Yeah, so these fish live deep.
Yeah.
And according to Asian mythology, when these fish surface or are close to the surface, it means danger is coming. So...
No!
Other names of this fish...
I was so excited when you said mythology, and then I very quickly was no longer excited.
So, the mythology is they have other names for this fish too. They call it the doomsday fish or the earthquake fish.
Wonderful.
So, they have been seen on shore washed up on shore or very close to the surface in past sightings days before an earthquake, a major earthquake, is about to happen.
Neat.
And in Asian mythology, these fish are the product of Naga, a sea serpent, and widely known as a harbinger of doom.
Great.
Oceanologists who have studied these fish say they will go towards the surface if they've been disturbed or attacked.
See, I was going to say,
so we have a little more logical.
An earthquake thing. I was going to say, I suppose if it's like rumbling down below, they're probably not happy about it. So they're like, what's going on?
They're really like, they don't have a whole lot of like predators going after them.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're a minimum of like 8 feet long, I think, is what it is. It was either their minimum they grow 18 or 8 feet long, or maximum 8 feet long, but I couldn't remember what. I didn't put that note down on. But anyways, so they will go, like I said, the oceanologists will say that they go to the surface if they're disturbed or attacked, but it's still very rare for an oarfish to come that close to the surface and around humans as well. But upon
Hey guys, what's going on?
But upon closer inspection of this particular oarfish, it was seen with bite marks and holes in its body.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I did see this picture. Yep.
So this is leading oceanologists to believe that this fish was attacked and is injured and is possibly disoriented after the attack and maybe just resting and recovering or even possibly dying. Because they don't know the extent of the injuries because they just got it on video and it swam away.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Do they know what does it look like a sharky?
Shark. Yeah. It looks like it has shark teeth marks in it. And I'm like, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
I mean, those oarfish, they're interesting looking too.
They're goofy for sure.
They really are. Like, yeah, they're rarely seen. I think it was like people will see them like once every 5 years or something like that. It's
crazy. The ocean is terrifying.
It is terrifying. The other thing, one other person or another part of the article said that oarfish are seen more dead than alive.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm. And even still, like 100 years ago, like people saw them, but they were still, even then they were so like they would die at the bottom of the ocean because that's usually where they were. So you'd really never see them. But it seems like more often than not,
100 years ago, it was a sea monster.
It was a sea monster 100 years ago. That was Nessie to them.
Mm-hmm. Might as well have been.
Well, whatever, because this is in Taiwan and this is where these fish live in the Pacific Ocean down there.
Yeah.
Man, could you imagine like just floating around in a submarine that far down and all of a sudden you see this 8-foot monster coming at you? No. And the weird part is they like oarfish swim vertically.
Yeah, they're vertical. And it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know why. I could not tell you why, but I'm not a fan of it. Fish weird me out, especially ocean fish. Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. I don't know what's going on in there. I don't know if we're ever going to figure it out, but...
I mean, there's a conspiracy that says, why did NASA stop exploring the ocean to explore the space?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, conspiracy theory, which I do want to cover at some point here, is it's a really interesting conspiracy theory and all the different... We should do more conspiracy theories. Yeah, I was looking at that and I was looking more into conspiracy theories earlier this week, and I want to start doing those along with all the serial killers. Yeah. Little heads up, gonna be really excited for the next podcast because I'm finally going back to a very famous serial killer.
Ooh, so I can't wait.
I know we usually don't say what we're doing until the episode,
but I guess here's a little sneak peek.
Because I know I've had some friends and some people reach out saying like, hey, I'd like Hannah was saying even last
Look
podcast.
Look at that timing.
It's worked, and I'm like, you know what? It is time, and I will say one of my favorite serial killers.
Okay.
So anyone who knows me will probably know who I'm talking about, but the rest of y'all are gonna have to find out on episode 20.
All right. With that being said, should we flip the coin?
I think so. I think it's your turn to flip.
Sure is.
Cool. What do we got?
What is that? That is tails.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's tails.
Okay. Cool.
All right,
Hannah, bless us with your crazy and wild story.
I've got a haunted castle.
Oh, haunted castle, I love it. Okay, where is this haunted castle?
It is, well, first it's Houska Castle.
Houska Castle, okay.
It is located about 30 miles north of Prague in the Czech Republic. It's kind of near the German border.
Slavic. Mm-hmm. That's what we are.
It was built in the 13th century.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yep.
I'm so, okay.
So, get this. It was built away from the nearest village. No near water source. It was not near any trade routes. And even still, it's very isolated. It also didn't have a kitchen or originally any stairs to the upper levels. This was not built to be lived in. Let's just make that clear.
Oh, interesting. So, this is getting
we'll get into
crazy.
It, but it was never fortified, and it's seemingly strategically insignificant.
I have so many questions, but I'm just going to let you talk.
I've got more for you. Any defensive walls that were built inside and facing inwards.
You're going to have to walk me through that one. They were built inside and facing inwards?
Yeah, so normally you'd have like a defensive wall on the outside, but they were all on the inside of the castle, and they were facing the inside of the castle. None of them were facing outside. These walls did come down during renovations in the 1600s, though, which, like, imagine renovations in the 1600s. It's been a minute. But...
almost, 13th century to the 1600s?
Yeah, and then from 1600s to now, so it's been a while since...
Yeah, like, that's a long time.
It's been a minute. So,
yeah.
Why was this castle built if...
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of curious.
Very clearly not to be lived in. One source stated that it was built to be an administrative center for the royal estates to be managed from, but the most common belief is that it was built to trap demons.
Oh.
As it was built on top of a pit that is believed to be a gate to hell.
Built on a pit?
A pit in the limestone that just opened up.
Just opened up one day and they were like, we need to build a castle around this?
So, it opened up.
Okay.
And people did not like this. Weird things started happening. Winged creatures and like human-animal hybrids would come out of the pit. Crops started dying. Livestock was being killed at night. People were being injured or killed if they went near the pit. It's terrifying. They tried to fill it with rocks, but the pit was so deep, like you couldn't see the bottom of it, and it just like ate up everything that you tossed in there.
So you're probably going to answer this, but one question I do have is, if people go near the pit and were killed, how do they build a castle around it? But I feel like you're going to answer that. That's just like the main question I have right now.
Yeah. No, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Early on in the construction, before they dealt with the pit, nearby prisoners were offered a pardon on their death penalties if they volunteered to be lowered into the hole and report back what they saw.
Why do I feel like no one reported back what they saw?
So the first prisoner was lowered down. It was quiet. Very shortly after, he started screaming.
Okay,
So they pulled him back up. And he had aged at least 30 years, sporting some new wrinkles and white hair. He was reported to have lost his mind, and he died a few days later. There was a couple different accounts of what happened after that. Either they tried it with a few more prisoners and the same thing happened, or nobody would go down there. It was one of the two.
Okay.
So.
Wild.
Eventually, the hole was sealed with stone slabs, and the castle's chapel was built on top of it.
Oh, I guess build something holy on top of something that's possibly unholy.
Basically, they were like, cap it with some good. So the chapel was dedicated to Archangel Michael, which seemed to cement in people's minds that this was, in fact, a gateway to hell, because Archangel Michael led God's armies against Lucifer's fallen angels.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
One source also said that archers were stationed around the chapel with orders to shoot anything that may have managed to escape the pit, but nothing did, as far as we know.
Wonder how long they were there for before they were like, I guess nothing's coming out.
I don't know. I don't know. So.
I'd like to believe it was 5 years at least.
They weren't a fan of these creatures coming out. You know, the demons were not their friends. That was the whole thing. So we're going to go forward to the 1600s.
All right.
A guy named Oronto, or Oronto? Oronto.
How to spell?
Oronto.
I guess it could be Oronto or Ornoto.
No. You put an extra O in there.
Did I?
In there.
Oops.
In the 1600s, a guy named Oronto had taken up residence in the castle. He was rumored to practice black magic and to be working on an elixir for eternal life. The people of the nearby village were terrified of him and sent 2 hunters to pay him a visit and kill him, which they did. So here's the thing. Supposedly the villagers thought this man was, like, invincible. They said that if they shot bows at him, or, like, arrows at him, the arrows would just, like, curve around him. So there is a legend that these hunters went to a blacksmith that was versed in the occult and had special bullets made.
Oh.
And they went up to the castle and called out to him, and he came to the window and they shot him.
Oh.
But apparently the bullets were made under, like, a specific moon phase, and, like, it was, like, you know, just
kind of like making, like, a silver bullet for a werewolf kind of deal.
Like, just kind of like full-on witchcraft, you know.
Well, isn't that what they were like? They're scared of him because he's, like, doing witchcraft kind of stuff. So you go and fight him with witchcraft?
Yep. It's not okay if he does witchcraft, but somebody else does it.
Man, love the double standards.
But here's the thing. Another source stated that part of the reason they didn't like him was not just because he was doing some spooky things up there. Mm-hmm. There were rumors that he was doing experiments on villagers up there. I don't think those were exactly corroborated. But another source stated that him and his buddies like to just pillage the nearby town. So that's kind of also why they didn't like him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 2 men can just pillage an entire town.
I said him and his buddies. The 2...
Buddies.
Yeah.
Okay, it sounded like you said buddy.
No.
Never
him
mind.
and his buddies.
Okay, that makes sense.
In 1836, a Czech poet known as Maka spent a night in the castle, and he later recounted his dreams from that night.
Ooh.
So wild.
Okay.
He described his soul entering and going down the pit, where he came out in a hellish, mechanized future. And this is believed to be Prague in 2006.
What?
He said he met a girl who showed him moving pictures in a small casket, and he also described walking at night near giant cliffs with many holes in them that let out yellowish light. And some people believe that this is an area of modern-day Prague that is just blocks of towering apartment buildings. And again, this was in 1836.
Yeah.
So, just take that as you will. During World War II, I'm going to go forward a little bit more.
Okay.
The castle was taken by Nazis.
Mm-hmm.
And they were set to do experiments in the castle, some believing that the work had to do with the occult. But nobody actually knows what took place when the Nazis were there, because they burned all of the records before leaving.
Of course they did, because the Nazis are smart.
Mm-hmm. So, we have some hauntings.
Ooh.
The current owner stated that once, when he had friends over for dinner, he set his wine glass on the table and it started levitating in front of everybody. He grabbed it out of the air and set it back on the table.
Oh, just like nonchalantly.
And then it slid away from him to the middle of the table.
Like, nuh-uh. No.
It's like, I was doing something with that.
Yeah, I was impressing your friends.
Mm-hmm. There is a blonde lady in white that has been seen through the windows and wandering the halls upstairs.
Mm.
Both a headless man and a headless horse have been seen on the grounds of the castle, supposedly gushing blood.
Just laying there gushing blood? Or like wandering around gushing blood?
I think they're standing.
Oh, just like...
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That... I don't know which is worse. What would you think is worse? A headless horse and a headless dude gushing blood laying on the ground, or them standing up doing the exact same thing gushing blood? What's more horrifying to witness?
I don't know. I really don't know. Probably
I feel like
both.
I feel like the standing up gushing blood would more, so that seems more accurate. Laying on the ground gushing blood?
Yeah, I suppose. It's kind of the shock factor.
The shock factor would be just standing horse gushing blood, like headless horse gushing blood. I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Well, if you want to talk about shock factor and what the fuck is going on,
Oh.
there is a hybrid creature that is described as part bullfrog, part bulldog, and part human. And that's all I have for you on that.
No, you can't.
That's it.
No, you cannot.
I really did not find much more.
Really?
Yep.
I don't like that because bullfrog, bulldog, and human.
I think Astonishing Legends called it Frog Dog Man.
Like man, bear, pig? Oh my god. Okay. I'm going to be looking to this now too.
Yeah.
I want to see like a picture of this.
And then there's shadows seen moving around.
Of course.
A couple visiting heard a loud thump and were then approached by shadowy figures that whispered something about killing young girls as they passed.
Young girls would pass and they would talk about killing them, or you would pass.
The couple.
The couple would.
No, so the couple was visiting there.
Okay.
They heard a loud thump, and then they were approached by shadowy figures.
They were, okay.
Yes, and the shadowy figures whispered something about killing young girls as it passed. So.
I don't like that.
Yep. Visitors today report a feeling of not even wanting to enter the castle when they first get there, as well as terrible luck after leaving.
Of course.
Dead birds have been and are still regularly found in the castle's courtyard. Some believe that the castle was built using sacred geometry and that it's become a portal for time travel and teleportation.
Cool.
And in case you don't know what sacred geometry is, I have a quote. Sacred geometry ascribes symbolic and sacred meanings to certain geometric shapes and certain geometric proportions. So think like mandalas.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. That's sacred geometry.
Those are very appealing to me, and I love those.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that is Houska Castle.
Well, that was a quick episode. That was a quick story.
I forgot to actually mention it when we were recording, but like it was a short story just packed with stuff.
I mean, that was a lot.
It was a lot.
But at the same time, I'm like, now we have to go.
Right?
We have to go.
But we have to. Like, we have to.
We have to. It'd be really cool to see what you kind of like pick up on over there, too.
Mm-hmm. I would love to be able to go to a place with history like that and like so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it would be really, it'd just be cool to go over to Europe in general.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, maybe not like the first time we go over to Europe, but like definitely it's got to be on our bucket list before we die.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I Googled haunted castles, and I found a list, and I was scrolling through it.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was like the 4th or 5th one down, and I was like, haunted castle that's built on top of a portal to hell to trap demons? Hell yeah.
That peak.
That's exactly what I needed.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you don't know what to do, and it's like that one pops up right to you.
Mm-hmm. And it's super, like, it's a small castle. It's just like a square little thing.
Oh, because I was thinking like this tall, gothic almost looking castle.
We'll post a picture on social media when the episode comes out. But yeah, it's just this like kind of gothic medieval castle that had Renaissance renovations in the 1600s. Yeah, it's just this like little thing, and it's like I said, it's super isolated. Like it's still, even in World War II, it was not significant as far as like strategies go and placement and everything.
Wow.
And it really never was.
So I guess, can people actually go and visit there?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep, there are tours there now.
Oh, nice. Mm-hmm. I love that.
The whole website is in Czech, understandably.
Yep.
And Google Translate did not do a very good job on it, so I didn't spend much time on their website, no.
Come on, Google, do better.
So what do you have for us this week?
I have, or I should say, I'm going to be talking about the leaf killer.
Oh, see, I asked you about this because I saw it on your list, and I was like, what is the leaf killer? And you were like, I don't know. So,
and I mean, I did know, but I wasn't going to tell you until you got to hear the story.
Oh, so, I guess that's fair.
I mean, a little white lies, Hannah. That's all I'm going to give you.
That's fair.
I could tell you all about.
I just really genuinely thought that you forgot what it was, because there's a bunch of stuff on my topic list that, like, I read it and I'm like, what is that?
Oh, trust me. I'm still trying to figure out what the Waco siege is.
Please tell me you're kidding.
No, I'm not actually.
You're not? Waco, Texas. You don't know what the Waco siege is?
No. I might have an idea of like it was probably
Waco was a cult. And the siege was like a big thing that went down. I think it was in the 90s? I don't know. I can't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a whole thing. It was a cult. The Waco, Texas siege and everything.
So now that's why I think it piqued my interest, because it was a cult. And I found it just looking through, but I didn't. But when I just keep seeing Waco siege, I keep thinking it was like an attack or something, and I keep forgetting to look into it again.
No, it's a cult.
So
it was a cult.
That's the reason why that one's on my list.
I can't remember the name of the cult.
Also on my list with the Jonestown Massacre as well, and I can't wait.
You have to do Jonestown.
Jim Jones,
wild man,
fucked up individual.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to do that. So yeah, I am going to talk about the leaf killer. So who was the leaf killer and what was his name? Well, his name was Matthew Hoffman. And not much is known about Matthew Hoffman except for that he was born in 1980 to his parents, Robert and Patricia. He came across as a quiet kid and even quiet through his teen and adult years. And from what is known, he had a fairly normal upbringing. And while growing up, his parents noticed that Matthew had a major fascination with trees and leaves. And as he got older, he became more rebellious and really not a good person. So when he turned 21 in 2001, Matthew was arrested for first-degree arson, burglary, and theft.
Wow.
Right?
He just went for it all.
Went right for it. And prior to this, he had no criminal history, record, past, any kind. And what got him to be arrested for arson, burglary, and theft is he set a condo on fire in Steamboat, Colorado. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison, and not much is known as to why he decided to set this condo ablaze after burglarizing it and stealing a bunch of stuff from people.
Is that the whole story?
No. No. We've got so much to cover here.
I was going to say, that felt like it wrapped up quick.
Nope. So he served his full 8 years. So fast forward to 2009.
Okay.
Once he got out, things started to get a little more weird for Matthew. So after prison, he moved to Ohio. He became a professional tree trimmer. But what was odd is his neighbors reported seeing Matthew trapping and killing squirrels a few months after moving into this house.
No, that's never a good sign.
And sometimes he would grill the freshly killed squirrels and eat them. His neighbors even reported Matthew spending hours in a tree in his backyard, and sometimes he would just stare and watch his neighbors from his perch in the tree.
Okay, squirrel boy.
Right? I do want to say before we get further into the story is a little disclaimer. We do talk about sexual assault and obviously murder. So I just wanted to preface that before going into it.
Oh, thank you.
Hey guys, it's post-production Hannah. I just also wanted to add in here that there is also some animal violence, so just be warned if you continue listening through.
So we are going to the night of November 9th, 2010. So late at night, Matthew drove himself in his Toyota Yaris out to a remote area of the woods in Apple Valley, Ohio.
Why am I not surprised that he's driving a Yaris?
Right? That's what my thoughts exactly. I'm like, why does this sound so perfect of a car for this man to drive? So once he got to what he would consider his perfect spot, he parked his car in the woods so it was hidden, and he walked about a mile from his car to the home of Tina Herman. This area was very isolated and had very few houses around where Tina's house was, so you really couldn't see or even like throw a rock near their neighbor to the next neighbor's house. I'm just trying to tell you how like densely wooded this all is. You cannot see anybody. Mm-hmm. Once Matthew was near the home, he set up a sleeping bag and camped there for the night. Once he awoke the next morning, he sat in a tree again, or near Tina's house, I should say, and just watched all the movement in the house. He watched until Tina's kids went to school. Her kids were Cody, who was 11, and Sarah, who was 13. And then he waited until Tina left the house as well. Once she did, Matthew broke into the home and waited for them to return.
No, get out of there. That's not your home.
No. A few hours later, Tina returned home and was ambushed by Matthew. He dragged her to the bedroom and stabbed her several times with a hunting knife. The stab wounds were fatal, and she died where she was stabbed.
Jesus.
After she was dead, Matthew waited again. After a while, someone else came into the house, startling Matthew since it was a grown woman's voice who started talking as soon as she enters the home. It was Tina's friend, Stephanie Sprang. Once she closed the door, Matthew brutally attacks her, stabbing her in the chest, and he kept stabbing her until she was dead. And he continued to stab her many times after she was dead, too.
Calm down. Settle down.
Apparently he was spooked by her pretty bad.
Wow. Spooked is the word, sure.
So after the two murders had just taken place and all this commotion, the family dog comes up from the basement and starts barking wildly at Matthew. Matthew turns to the dog, and unfortunately, he decides to kill the dog
No!
as well. He dragged the dog, Tina, and Stephanie's body to the bathtub and started to dismember them one by one and putting their limbs and bodies in trash bags.
Stop it.
While Matthew was trying to clean up the mess, the kids, Cody and Sarah, returned home.
No.
Again, startling Matthew, he waited until the kids were inside the house so he could ambush them. He first got the jump on Cody and stabbed him in the back of the head, killing him immediately.
No, what the head stabbings, those, I hate those.
Then he continued to stab Cody many more times after he was dead. Once knowing that Cody was dead, Matthew then got up to chase Sarah. The chase ended in Sarah's room. Matthew grabbed and ripped a cord from a fan that was in her room and tied her up with it. Once she was tied up and gagged, he picked her up and threw her in the back of Stephanie's Jeep. What Sarah didn't know yet was that Matthew had thrown the garbage bags of the dismembered bodies in the back of the Jeep as well.
No.
Matthew then drove the Jeep back to his car, put Sarah into his car and the bags of the bodies, and drove all the way back to his house. Once back to his house, he grabbed Sarah, chained her and locked her in his bathroom.
No.
While he went and hid the bodies. Once the bodies were...
How old is she?
She was 13 during this time.
No.
Once the bodies were hidden, Matthew was so exhausted from his murdering spree, so he took a nap. But also not wanting Sarah to escape, he did the only rational thing that he could think of, and he tied her to him while he slept.
Gross. Mm-hmm. Gross.
This guy's kind of a psycho, isn't he?
Yeah, kind of.
Just kind of. It's fine.
Jesus.
While Sarah was tied to Matthew and he was sleeping, she looked around his house, and with confusion and horror, as she puts it, Matthew's walls were lined with trash bags full of leaves, and his floor was completely covered in leaves too. And I gotta show you the pictures of this. It is creepy.
Oh my goodness.
Like, think of Target, Kmart, Walmart bags.
Just full of leaves.
Full of leaves and taped or stapled up to the walls. And then just think of piles of leaves, like you would make piles of leaves out in your yard. That was around his house.
I'm only laughing because it's so absurd.
Well, I mean, he had a fascination with trees and leaves when he was a kid, and he became a professional tree trimmer. I wonder if he was trimming trees and he would just like grab leaves and just put them in his pocket.
Do you think he was like gentle about how he trimmed the trees so he didn't hurt them?
You know, given what he has done to humans, it wouldn't surprise me if he was more gentle to trees.
More empathetic toward trees.
Or more empathetic towards trees, yeah. So after his nap and feeling well rested, Matthew chained Sarah in the crawl space / basement so she couldn't escape. He left his home and went back to Tina's home to steal the truck that was parked there. Once he got the keys, Matthew headed into town so he could get gas cans, fill them up so he could burn down Tina's house.
Because why stop before that? Like, why stop there? Why not go the extra mile and burn the whole house down? That's not going to draw any attention at all.
No, not in the slightest. I guess he was thinking just full send.
Full send, I guess.
But as luck may have it, the truck stalled on Matthew on his way to town, and he abandoned it in a parking lot. A few days later, police were doing their normal patrols when they noticed Matthew sitting in his car by the abandoned truck. They questioned him and he seemed off, is the best way they could describe the interaction they had with Matthew. After the interaction, police ran the plates on the truck, found out it belonged to Tina Herman, called the home of Tina multiple times but no answer. So they decided to go to the house, but again, no one answered. But the same day they went to the house, police got a call about missing persons of Tina, her 2 kids, and her friend Stephanie.
Who called them in?
Family did.
Okay.
And so the police started thinking back to that odd interaction they had with Matthew. So they decided to pay Matthew another visit and see if they had some answers for them.
See if he had some answers for them?
Or they think Matthew might have some answers for them. So police started their investigation at the home of Tina, and in the home they found a very large tarp and a box of large garbage bags.
Well.
Right? Luckily, the garbage bags were from Walmart, and they happened to find a receipt near it as well. So they went to the Walmart that the bags in the tarp were purchased from, And so they could access the footage, or the security camera footage. And who did they see on camera buying the large tarp in garbage bags? Our friend Matthew. This gave police enough probable cause to go to Matthew's home and bring him in for questioning. So on November 14th, 2010, the home of Matthew Hoffman was raided. SWAT came through the door after a flashbang was thrown into the home, and police were not ready for what they had found. The bags of leaves were all over the walls and leaves covering the floor, like I mentioned earlier. And some of the officers will never forget the smell that came from that house.
No, don't say that.
And the smell, I would say the smell was from the rotting leaves, basically. And guarantee he had never cleaned anything. There's
Wait a minute, what happened to the little girl?
We're getting there.
Okay.
We're getting there. So once the police entered the home, and while searching, they found Matthew dead asleep in his bed and arrested him. Awoke from his dead sleep, Matthew exclaims, "What the hell is going on?" And the officer who pinned him down said, "You tell me, motherfucker." But before Matthew could speak, he was taken away. But the worst was yet to come. The officers made their way down to the basement after clearing the upstairs. And this is where they saw Sarah chained up, but alive and in some pretty bad condition.
Oh my God.
She was dirty, starving, and she was wearing a diaper made out of trash bags, and it looked like it was used heavily.
No.
I mean, 4 days there in a trash bag diaper,
Oh my
chained up in the
God.
basement. Unfortunately, she also had signs of sexual assault.
No.
Come to find out, Matthew had raped her multiple times while she was his prisoner.
No.
And unfortunately, she was not able to be untied right away due to needing pictures for evidence from the forensic team.
Oh my God.
But once police had their pictures, and they were quick as possible about this, she was freed, taken to a medical truck outside to be cleaned up as best as possible. Despite the fact that she was in rough shape, dehydrated, and needing food, her vitals were surprisingly good. During this time, she even asked for police to take her to school because she didn't want to miss out on her studies.
Oh, honey.
I mean, kudos to you for worrying about your studies, but honey, you have bigger things to worry about right now. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Police were also poking around the piles of leaves to make sure no one was hiding in them, literally like taking sticks.
Yeah, I bet.
And like one officer said, your mind is racing so much while poking these piles of leaves. Like, what if someone just pops out, or what if there's just a body laying in there?
Yeah.
We don't know. Looking through piles of leaves in a suspect's home was the first for a lot of officers.
Yeah, I believe that.
After their initial investigation was done of the home, Matthew and Sarah were taken back down to the station, and where Matthew started to get interrogated. He refused to give the location where he hid the bodies, and after going back and forth with Matthew, the police and Matthew finally struck a deal. The police and his lawyer agreed to take the death penalty off as a sentence if he agreed to tell where he hid the bodies of Tina, Stephanie, Cody, and the dog. Matthew claims this was a burglary gone wrong, and he would never hurt Sarah.
Yeah, okay.
He didn't want her going to the police because he didn't want to go to jail. During the interrogation, Matthew goes on to say he treated Sarah with dignity and respect. He let her play video games, read books, watch movies, and sometimes he would watch movies with her.
Absolutely fucking not.
He goes on to say he even cooked full meals for her.
No,
he
did
gave
not.
her a nice bed. But obviously, this was a lie. Sarah has a different side to the story.
Yeah, I bet she does.
While Sarah was being interviewed, she states she was chained to the basement, worn a trash bag diaper that never got changed. She was given scraps of food. But hey, at least she was given a nice bed, right? Nope.
No.
It was a bed made from leaves on the ground, and in the basement, it was cold, wet, damp.
Not the leaf bed.
It was a leaf bed.
God.
As Matthew put it, he just wanted Sarah to have a nice, comfy bed.
That's a leaf bed is not a comfy bed.
She even made this comment during the interview. I think he was just trying to say that in his interview to make people think that he felt good about himself, for him to think that he fed me and stuff. He didn't. He didn't let me shower or do any of that stuff he claims.
Oh my God.
He even told her there were other people involved in this kidnapping, and this was to keep her from trying to escape. So, where did Matthew hide the bodies? After they agreed to the terms, Matthew goes on to tell the police where he hid the bodies. He states he dragged the bodies in the bags out to a remote area of the woods where he found a hollow tree. He climbed up 35 feet up the tree one at a time, bringing the bags, and dumped them inside the hollow tree.
Stop it.
This was actually found out to be true.
Stop it. No.
The bodies were discovered on November 18th, 2010. And if Matthew had never told them where he hid the bodies,
they never would have found them.
Exactly. They would have never been found.
Oh my God.
So here's a little side note. They interviewed Matthew's ex-girlfriend. She claims he abused and choked her. And there is police report of the incident, but she never pressed charges in fear that he would kill her.
Oh my God.
So with all this evidence, let the trial begin. So with the police finding the bodies and having all the evidence against Matthew and Sarah testifying against him, the trial was fairly quick. Towards the end of the trial, Sarah wanted to make a statement towards Matthew, but she was advised not to talk to him and from saying what she wanted to her kidnapper and to the murderer of her family. She stated to her lawyer, "I wanted to tell him that I wasn't scared of him. I just wanted to live my life." During the trial, many people described Matthew's demeanor in court. One person said Matthew mostly just stared at the table with no change of expression from any statement or any of the proceedings. Occasionally, he would close his eyes like he was trying to take a nap, it seemed. The trial came to a close in January 2011, and Matthew pleaded guilty to the following charges: 3 counts of aggravated murder, 1 count of burglary, 1 count of kidnapping, 1 count of rape, 1 count of tampering with evidence, and 3 counts of abusing a corpse. Matthew was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Good.
So once Matthew was back into prison and people could start moving on with their lives with this unfortunate situation, Sarah didn't go back to school for 4 months. And she did actually do an interview with Dr. Phil after she went back to school. And during the interview with Dr. Phil, she states, "The kids at school would tease her for being in the leaves with Matthew."
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm. That broke my heart.
Oh.
To go through that and have kids make fun of you for being in the leaves.
Kids are awful.
Kids are awful. But she does live at home with her dad. And I will say, I did not mention her dad in the beginning. Her dad was... There's a few conflicting pieces of the articles where it seemed like there's not a whole lot to talk about her dad, but like one article, like 2 or 3 articles said that he was out of the country, but there wasn't a whole lot talked about him until he was like on Dr. Phil. But even then he didn't give a whole lot since this was more solely focused on Sarah.
Yeah.
After some time, Sarah and her dad adopted one of the dogs that helped in the search for her mother and brother. Sarah said in the same interview that her dad sleeps in the recliner every night with a loaded gun next to him. And her dad goes on to say, "I will protect my family from another attack." And that is the wild story of the Leaf Killer.
That is horrible.
And he is still in prison to this day in Ohio.
Good.
And he is never getting out. And I saw a picture of him. Oof.
You creepy motherfucker.
Creepy motherfucker.
You'll have to send me a picture of him for the social media.
Yeah, I will. I was trying to decide if I wanted to send the room with the leaf bags or his mugshot.
You could do both because I mean...
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
But yeah, he's a creepy mother. He is very, like... It looks like prison was not kind to him.
Yeah.
Like before, it's like he looks a little off. But his prison picture, it's like... Oof. Yeah. He's a bad dude, it looks like. Just this pale, like skinny, sunken in face. I'm like, yeah, no. Oh, this story here, like...
You came in hot and ruined our day.
Hey, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to satisfy the morbid curiosity.
Well, that being said... I have a fun fact for you, but it's not a cemetery fun fact this week.
Oh, okay.
Since I did the castle in the Czech Republic, I remembered a little fun fact that lives in my brain rent-free.
Ooh, okay.
About the Czech Republic. Every year, on the last day of April, across the country, witch burnings happen.
Really?
Yes. So it is, a straw witch now that they usually put a little pointy hat on.
Yeah.
But the idea is that it used to be believed that as the weather got warmer, the witch's powers got weaker. So the idea is they burn the witch to then usher in the new weather. It's kind of their way of saying goodbye to winter and like hello to summer. I also read that it's kind of symbolic in getting rid of just kind of the unneeded, unwanted energies and just kind of letting things go to start fresh with the summer and everything. So there's a witch burning that happens yearly in the Czech Republic, and I just think that is fascinating. What a tradition. They've got a few wild traditions, and that's probably my favorite one.
So I think I know when we need to go there now, Hannah.
Yes, it's a whole, festivity. They, spend the day with, food and activities and stuff, and then as the sun goes down, or I think after the sun goes down, they bring out the witch, and they toss her on top of the fire, on top of the big bonfire.
I like how they basically took that when they used to burn real witches, and now they don't, but it's for a better symbolism.
Yes.
I do love that. That is really cool.
I did also find that there were witch trials that happened in the Czech Republic that I will likely have to cover, but I think first and foremost...
I'm surprised you haven't covered any kind of witch trial yet.
Yeah, I should probably do the Salem trials soon.
I would love to hear your rendition of the Salem trials.
Oh man, it's a lot.
They are wild.
That could be a multi-parter. But now that we're doing bi-weekly, I might have the time to actually dedicate to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. That's what I've got for you guys.
I love it. Well, I think I don't have anything else here today, so I think with that...
Wait, I thought of one thing that I was completely... It's not important at all.
But it sounds important enough.
But it's been bugging me, and I meant to mention it last week. Mm-hmm. Episode 17.
Yeah.
With Mike and Brian.
Yeah.
I said Stephen King the entire time instead of Stephen King. You
sure did.
And it drove me nuts. It still drives me nuts. And I want to say, I know that his name is Stephen King, but I have this thing where if I look at my notes and a word looks a certain way, I'm going to read it. It's the same thing that happened with tuberculosis, why I said tuberculosis. It's the same thing. So I know what his name is. I just want to put that out there, and that's it. Now that's all I've got.
I remember that. I remember sitting there, and every time I heard you say...
I didn't get it right once, and the whole time I was editing it, I was waiting. I was like, I've got to say it right at least once. And I did not. And I was so upset, and nobody corrected me.
No, as I'm sitting there, and I'm like, do I? No, I'm going to let this keep going.
And I had tried to make a mental note before we sat down to record to not do that. Because I've done that with his name just forever. Oh, you have. And I've corrected you. I've known this. Yep. But at the same time, you say his name, Stefan, so often. I was like, you know what? We're just going to let Hannah do her thing. So, I'm not going to even try anymore. It's fine. So Mike and Brian, if you're listening to this episode, should leave us a comment of what you thought about Hannah with the whole Stephen King. I guess we're all just going to roast me now about it. I want to see a roast thread. You all were so polite, and you didn't say a single thing about it. Nope, we didn't. And nobody has said a single thing to me about it either. See, I think people were just like, oh, poor girl. They're like, she's too far into it. That or because you're the podcaster, you know how to pronounce things correctly. No, I don't think that's it at all. I think everybody was just being overly polite. So I guess thanks for that. I do honestly, Mike and Brian, if you're listening, I do honestly want to hear what you guys were thinking when Hannah said Stefan all throughout that episode. Yeah. I guess we'll see. All right. So I think right there, I think that's where we're going to end this episode. So we'll see you guys in 2 weeks for episode 20. Bye. The Bleeding Grave is hosted by Hannah Slavic and Austin Wenger. Music by Hannah Slavic. You can find us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can listen to The Bleeding Grave on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more.